Yeah, we, under the National Elections Watch, Uganda, the new U, we have observers countrywide. The nominations have been peaceful. There were a few...
Our candidate lost a hand in Makinde.
No.
A young lady called Nakavuma.
Yes, I'm coming, Honorable. They have been largely peaceful. There are few skirmishes of violence. Of course, basically in Kampala and a few urban centers. We saw what happened in Chira in the morning. I think Honorable Semuju was arrested after nomination. Then Honorable Mao is informing us of what happened to a DP person. I've not looked at the report.
This was at the nomination of our candidate, Lusagala, in Makinde West, when the police started throwing tear gas recklessly, and a young lady, Agnes,
yes, we also
Nakavuma, was
got
injured
reports
badly.
of a NUP candidate, Kawempe South. I hope he managed to get nominated. He could not stay in his house for 2 days. The police surrounded his house. So, but we have not received the full report. And as an election observer network, we shall release a detailed report after the nomination exercise. But looking at the party performance generally, party performance is affected by mainly 2 elements. One is the source of funding. If you look at our laws governing political party funding, they are not fair. They are not fair and they need major reforms. But also if you look at the ruling party, NRM, that does not charge subscription from its members, but also rarely declares its source of funds, even after presidential elections, which is a requirement by law. It is normally the last to even declare the amount of money used in campaigns. So one asks, what is the source of funding for NRM? Normally, they say they have well-wishers, and but is that justifiable accountability as a ruling party in power? Because many people that would have wished to contest in the elections, one cannot afford the exorbitant nomination fees. I was happy to learn that even sitting MPs were struggling to find 3 million for nomination. Why? Because as civil society, we have been, I think, on 2 accounts. One was our pact for electoral reforms in 2015, where we presented a detailed composition of an overhaul of electoral laws. Our calls to even remove nomination fees were ignored. Because the first question one would ask is, what is the purpose of these nomination fees? Electoral Commission is fully funded by taxpayers and does not need this money to organize elections. We know that the money collected goes back to a consolidated fund. But why do you charge citizens for participation in their elections? What is the purpose of this money? So our first call was that nomination fees should be removed. Electoral Commission is fully funded 100% to discharge its function by a taxpayer. Why do you charge a taxpayer to participate in governance? We know that some parties like NRM charge nomination fees, and they say it is money they use to conduct primaries. But also the question I would ask is that coming out of the COVID pandemic, and OO was gradually telling the country how their candidates are financially equipped. They could pay 2 million with ease. They even had resources for their campaigns. And even they had extra to bribe voters, as we all witnessed in their primaries. But what is it that makes NRM members financially secure and opposition members financially insecure in this country? I think these are the fundamental questions that we should address as a country.
There's actually better planning, proactive, because if I know I'm going to stand for elections in 3 years, I should start preparing. And one of the elements of preparation is resource mobilization.
Even in the pandemic, you had
Yes,
burned above.
yes, even in the pandemic. In this election, both in the NRM and in the opposition, I want to believe, there are people who have stood for these elections, primary school teachers, non-government workers, people in their own businesses. And if you look at the fall, many people who were defeated, for example, in the NRM primaries, they were defeated by new people, younger people with less income. So it is not just about money. I think there's a lot of preparation that individual candidates or aspirants must undertake, so that you don't blame the existence of COVID. Okay, Honorable Mao has just told you, even with the COVID, DP this time around is fielding far more candidates than it has ever done when there was no COVID. I was speaking to Honorable Semujo, let me say with his permission, yesterday, and he told me that the FDC is likely to field fewer parliamentary candidates this time around than when we had thought FDC was popular and so on. So it is really at the organization. If it is a political party, what is the level of the organization? What's the level of leadership of that party
But
to
if
raise
I may
candidates?
conclude.
Honorable Muntu is taking the excuse of many people in parliament, many FDC MPs in parliament, were supporters or are supporters of Honorable Muntu. How come that they chose to go as independent rather than ANT, the group from Teso, for example? Why did they, or the group from Kasese, why did they not? And yet we know that they support General Muntu's formation. So there must be something
He gave you
missing
the
in
answer
between
that
there.
they don't want the long march.
So there must be something missing
if I may
in the
conclude.
organization and in the leadership of General Muntu.
Sarah, finally.
If I may conclude, so like maybe has confirmed, it's like NRM is party for the world to do, because we know that a lot of citizens are struggling out of the COVID pandemic and effects of lockdown. We know that parents have generally failed to take back children to school. Schools have failed to open. So everybody else is facing an economic crisis except NRM. So we need to know what kind of disparity, or if NRM presides over economic disparities in this country. But to conclude, I think we need to stop making leadership as a competition for money. Leadership is a platform to serve. It is not a platform to pride on who has a lot of money. That is a preserve of business sector. So if people want to make a show of money, we advise them to please join the private sector.
Okay, we have about 9 minutes to go. In about a minute each. Honorable Mao, my assessment from the nomination center in Tinda today was that opposition unity at all levels is a fallacy. Is that a wrong conclusion?
As DP, we invested more in opposition unity than any other political party. We are the ones who put on the table the one-to-one model at all levels. So right now, you can't start talking about opposition unity where one-to-one model was supposed to start from the local government positions up to the presidency. We are the ones who talked about regional targeting so that political parties can be assessed on their strength on particular geographical locations, and they can be allowed to lead campaigns in those areas. We are the ones who talked about an agenda-driven unity, a unity of values, and so it is rather late in the day to spend a lot of time talking about opposition unity for electoral purposes. Opposition unity can also be about fighting injustices, fighting the excesses of the regime, fighting the abuses by the Electoral Commission. We can unite around all those issues. Just like football clubs are rivals, but they all want fair rules. They all want stadia that are well organized. They want good ambience for their fans. So the real question is now, unity for what at this point? Because if you are talking about the unity, for instance, of one candidate, the only position now practically left is that of the president. And to negotiate the president effectively, you need to put all the cards on the table. So it is rather late in the day, and I think we should be talking about uniting for broader fights.
Okay, it's no deal from DP for the sake of elections.
I don't see that it is right now. And I feel actually very annoyed by anybody who knew from the beginning what DP had put on the table, now beginning to masquerade as champions of unity. I'm looking for whoever gave you that topic.
General Munshi.
And if they're a political party leader, I want to meet them immediately after this show.
All right.
I'm very upset.
Let's listen to General Munshi.
We labored, we worked very hard. That's why we built the DP block. People spend sleepless nights.
Before the Mau Mau rebellion.
No, forget about that. By the way, people can disagree and even come back together.
Okay.
So we spent sleepless nights to prepare a comprehensive document. And now, if people are grandstanding that now unity, why were you not debating seriously about unity? Okay. So that one is now only of propaganda value. But DP will never accept to be blamed for any failure to unite this time around. Okay. God is our witness, and God is going to punish whoever has been dishonest about unity.
Honorable Mao speaking for God tonight.
No,
let's listen to General
it is in the Bible.
Let's listen to General
It is in the Bible.
Your take on the disunity now that is evident a few months to the elections.
There are many forms of cooperation, but of course in the circumstances where we've already started nominations for members of parliament, we've already done local government. Tomorrow MPs, the nominations for MPs will end. That means the only position remaining would be the presidency. And the time is also quite short. However, the error in people's minds is to think that if you don't have one presidential candidate, that it impedes you from working together in other ways. Even when we failed at the presidential level as different parties, as we've already done at local as well as parliamentary, as long as one, we are stable internally, two, we don't engage in fights, interfights between the different parties. Then we can work out arrangements, for example, where we can cooperate around vote protection. That's not beyond our means. It's not also outside the time frame in which we can work around that. If there is a will and the skills to do that, that we can still do. When it comes to what normally attracts people...
Are you discussing that with any other opposition party? The things you talk about?
No, you asked me and I'm just responding to what is still possible.
Okay.
Because we've engaged. In the first place as NT, we informed all the opposition parties that we were not in a position to work as a fulcrum around which other parties could organize. Because we were spending more time on building ourselves, on our expanding our capabilities. And therefore we said anywhere where we're invited, we would go. It was like, for example, when DP invited us, we went there. And we went through the documents which they gave to us, and we wrote back to DP. And we also informed the other parties. And our main focus was that, look, for us to have any meaningful cooperation, or even a coalition as people, most people desire to have, we are saying that one, we should work on our stability as individual parties, because the stability of the component parts is the one that creates the stability of the whole, of the larger part. I'm also saying that we should also ensure that we work on our organizational capabilities so that at the point when we come together, we bring those capabilities together. Now that we've been overtaken by time in regard to coming together and putting together a coalition, we can still use those capabilities in terms, for example, vote protection. That's what I'm just saying.
Okay.
And we indicated to all parties that for us, we are willing. Anytime we're invited, we will be there. And there's no party which has invited us in any initiative, and we haven't gone there.
And you haven't invited any other party?
No, we clearly stated from the beginning that we will not be in a position to do that. Because we are spending more time in trying to build our capabilities. Because we know that even if you have a president at the top, if you don't have the capabilities to protect the vote in the 35,000 polling stations, you are as good as, going to be ineffective because they'll cheat you. That's why we've been putting our focus. That's why we're going to keep focusing until the last day of voting.
So it's a no deal from NT as well?
What do you mean no deal?
A cooperation around the election area where
We
candidates are stronger.
We are saying we are open. Anyway, we're invited, we'll go and discuss and say, okay, this is what we think we can offer, this is what we can do. And there's nowhere where we've been invited and we have not gone and responded, even in terms of what our own thoughts are in whatever proposal would have been made.
Okay. From the yellow bus, when you look into the other side.
Well, they say where there is a will, there is a way. But apparently in the opposition, there is no will, so there is no way for them. But let me just say, it is still possible if there was a will. One, they can negotiate if they have data, credible data, negotiate parliamentary candidates who are weak, who don't have support, to step down and support the stronger candidate, if I were them. But I'm not them. Secondly, even if the opposition was to create unity, first of all, I think it is asking to get milk out of stone. Do you expect, for example, General Muntu here now to line behind Amuriat, the presidential flag bearer of FDC? I don't think so. Looking at what happened, what made him leave, I don't think that's possible. So I think it is a superfluous debate now. But even if they were to do so, I think over a long period of time now, since 1996, we have generally established the trends in the country, the realignment of political forces, that the combined opposition political groups, including civil society groups that support them, that are allied to them, that bid for them, that about 38%. So even if 38% percent combine, they will not defeat the 62%. Two,
he's assuming that it's...
What are the issues? What are the issues that are going to make this election? What are the issues in this election? In my view, there are three issues. One, President Museveni's status. Because that's what all of them sing about. Now, if all of them sing and say President Museveni has led for long and is now leading Uganda to a wrong direction, how come they can't unite even on that one single issue? Two, they are saying the economy is being mismanaged. And three, the governance issues. So, the issues for contest in this election are pretty clear in my view, but they have failed. And so, we would wish that they were combined so that we route them together. That's what I would do. Honorable Mao is the one who used to say that when there are many, they give us multiple headaches. So, but I would really wish that they come together and we route them
This time
together.
it is itchy.
in
all part corners.
But the strategy of the NRM also is to make sure that we don't provide them with the opportunity to build a posture that they can effectively challenge us democratically. Now, and so we are going to engage them through democratic means. And General Muntu, yes, you can use this as an alibi that you are going to be cheated. But surely, where you don't have a candidate, as you yourself, you have not said how many you have fielded in the other position, where you don't have support, nobody is going to cheat you. You are using this as an excuse, preparing the mind of the country, preparing particularly the mind of your supporters. But I think generally the country knows that General Muntu, for example, your party and perhaps even yourself as a presidential candidate, you are not going to be the candidate even of the third choice of majority of voters in the country. So you can prepare the mind of the...
Or do you want to speak for secret ballots now? Millions of
Yes,
secret
I
ballots.
mean, in Uganda, what is secret? Yes, in Uganda, what is secret?
17 million secret
yes,
ballots.
in the villages.
I've gotten a spokesman in OO.
No, even where they have lining up, they recount.
Yes, in the villages, which constitute 72% of the population of voters in Uganda. Everyone knows. Majority of people know who supports who and who votes who.
Okay.
And that's why. In the three instances that we have had, the LC1 election, which was 2018, the special interest groups of women and youth, and the recent one of the NRM, even with the problems it went through, generally speaking, Ugandans are bold enough not to stand behind Ofono Pondo, who is the big man in the village, and stand and support somebody else, knowing that, generally speaking, there is no adverse repercussion on them.
Okay.
And so we relatively know the strength of each of the political groups and the political entities.
Finally, Sarah, yes.
Not results, we can give you a general trend.
Okay, Sarah, your take on the possibility of the impossibility, opposition unity for elections.
I think time has run out for a meaningful coalition for opposition. And as General Munt says, the best they can do now is cooperate on a few areas. And maybe if we had a free and fair election and they worked hard, no, but I'm an observer, but of course I cannot predetermine. I don't have your capacity. Who knows what General Munt will score now even before he's nominated? We shall
he knows what they will allocate him.
Yes. I don't have the same capacity as you. So as an observer, we shall give our report after. Of course, an observer must observe. I haven't observed. So I'm saying if the elections were free and fair, and maybe opposition worked hard, they could at least work for a rerun.
Okay.
And then maybe form a coalition in a rerun, which is automatic because it will be the run-up, the leader and the run-up to go for second round. Then a coalition will be forced.
The outcomes of this election are going to shock this country.
Okay, we need to sum up, but I wanted us to use, I want us to use 10 seconds each to send a message to the voters in any other language other than English, starting with the Honorable Mao. If you can look into the camera, for the people who are going to vote in this election, what language do you use to communicate to them? One language other than English. In 10 seconds, a message to the voters. Your camera is right there.
Karo romabalu tua. Ulama miet pechakrio. Alego ni bol kui. Kunungeni kui ni potika bolo. Piuke kenwu. Erotika bolo we. Bolo ne. Pilotina wa. Kili kwaiwa.
All right. Let's see.
You translate.
Banange bana Uganda akalulu kano kamwe akalulu kano chikija kwa cha mazima waka mazima NRM ne President Museveni bakulembedde bulungi nnyo bana Uganda mwena abampuliriza abanda abakati nolwecho ate ekirana kiraze amaanyi gaakyo n'obukozi bwakyo nolwecho tewali nsonga ekulu lwaki temujibwa NRM ne President Museveni temubawa akalulu obuwagizi bwamwe.
Thank you.
Akalulu kajja kubaka mazima nolwecho ab'opposition abagamba ntino bajja kubabba banonya ekisikirize ebyekwaso naye nga akalulu kano kajja kubaka mazima era NRM n'obuwagizi bwamwe kikagenda okuwangula.
Okay, we shall ask Zambali.
I thought we were giving a message to the voters, not to campaign.
That's a message to voters.
All right, Sarah, your message to the voters. Any language you're comfortable with?
Abannayuganda mbakubira omulanga temugwamu maanyi lino eggwanga lyamwe emitabanguko gino gye tuze tulabanga abakuumi b'eddembe gye bakola kubavuganya President Museveni tegibamalamu amaanyi obuyinza bwamwe era ekiseera kituuse buli omu mwetabe mu kulonda buli omu alonda omukulembeze gwayagala ate nga temwina butiitiizi tewaawo omuntu abatiisa buli omu yenyigire mu byokulonda era olunaku lw'okulonda buli omu afuluma ennyumba n'endangamuntu mu kuba akalulu buli omu akubire omukulembeze gwayagala.
And General Muntu, finally.
All who need change in this country, invest in change. Look for any party within the opposition that you believe in, fund it. Those who believe in us as Alliance for National Transformation, those who look at us and believe in our values, in our ideals, and also believe that we have the capability not only to take power, but transform this country, we need money from you. Even if you have 5,000, even if you have 10,000, 20,000, whatever you have. We've managed today and tomorrow, we are going to nominate a number of MPs. We already have many local government councillors, LC3 chairpersons, C5 chairpersons. We need money for communications, publicity, and campaigns, and agents at the end. We need a commitment from you on a monthly basis. If we get 100,000 Ugandans who can give 10,000, that's 1 billion. If we get 200,000, that's 2 billion. We need that money. You want change, you need to invest into it.
Okay, our sales and marketing team have ably captured General Muntu's advert. We will be showing up at the ANT offices tomorrow to claim for our advertising revenue. The Frontline for tonight ends here. It's a good morning. We return.
And the language of those who have money is English.
We return next Thursday, same time, same station. Good morning.
Speak 48 languages.
NBS Frontline.